Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the May 22nd meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Welcome back to Commissioner Kokoski, who enjoyed Florida. She looks Florida.
I love this little guy too, isn't he so cute? We have a male, about a year old, he's a terrier mix. I'm not sure where he was found, but he's ready for a home. He's very friendly, doesn't like walking on a leash, but I'm sure he'll follow you anywhere. So Elizabeth, you ready for a dog? Cute one. We'll stop down at our dog kennel and pick out a pet and make a nice for your family.
Thank you, Commissioner Lorain. A thought for today: everyone has patience. Successful people learn to use it. Madam Clerk?
Okay. At 9:45, we're going to have a public hearing on the erosion and sediment control. At 10 o'clock, we're going to have an appointment with Dave Kidder for solid waste. Under resolutions number 1, Job and Family Services Bill.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
No investments. Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Advances, repayments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have a few hires, potential hires at Golden Acres Nursing Home and in the Community Development Department. I also would like to update you on a matter of ongoing union negotiation and also a potential purchase of real estate property. So all three issues are allowable under the sunshine laws. With that, I would request an executive session to conclusion of our regular board meeting today to discuss those things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the same for Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting minutes for May 15, 2008.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
A decision on the expedited one annexation of 2.7531 acres from Pittsfield Township to the City of Oberlin. Attorney Eric S. Severs, agent on behalf of the petitioners, Oberlin Land Concept, Walmart Real Estate Business Trustee, and Continental Land and Building Company, LLC. All paperwork has been received.
Teresa prepared a statement.
You want to read it?
You or I?
Excuse me, Commissioners, I know Attorney Severs was going to be here. I don't know if we want to hold this for a few minutes to see if he shows up.
We can wait till later on in the agenda. Why don't we just delay that till the end?
Under Children and Families Council, approve and support the filing of an application to Ohio Children's Trust Fund, Bill 289, local plan for state fiscal year '09, effective July 1st, 2008 through June 30th, 2009.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Instruct the clerk to request proposals to provide direct child abuse prevention services for fiscal year '09. Notice will be in the Chronicle on May 23rd and 30th, technical meeting on June 4th at 9:30, and open at 2 p.m. on June 6th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Community Development, approve and enter an agreement with CT Consultants for the state-required RRS inspections for the FY07 CDBG formula grant, effective retroactive to February 11, 2008, in the amount of $11,000 to be paid from contract services other expenses account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Job and Family Services, authorize various agreements on behalf of Job and Families. Authorize director to execute on behalf of the Board with prosecutors' approval as to form. 1, Cronus, Boston, Massachusetts, for purchase of software and hardware to upgrade timekeeper system in the amount not to exceed $79,618. Diversified Transportation Services, Holland, Ohio, for non-emergency medical transportation services, effective July 1st, 2008 through June 30th, 2009, not to exceed $175,000. Maximus Columbus for the Windows version of the Quarterly Information Constellation System, Quarterly Information Constellation System Plus, and Random Moment Sampling, effective July 1st, 2008 through June 30th, 2009, in the amount of $2,850. Buckhold Specialty Services LaGrange to provide career counseling services to Ohio Works First participants, effective July 1st, 2008 through June 30th, 2009, in the amount not to exceed $87,655.50. And Information Technologies and Training Norwalk to provide Microsoft Access programming and staff training, effective July 1st, 2008 through June 30th, 2009, in the amount not to exceed $18,283.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Solid Waste, award of Commissioners grant in the amount not to exceed $15,000 to Lorain County Alcohol and Drug Abuse Services to purchase recycled materials for the upgrade of Lorain Manor Nursing Home for consolidation of all the women's programs in one location.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Before we vote, Mr. Billman.
Morning, Commissioners. This is a $15,000 grant request from Licata. They're going to be using the funding for recycled materials. They've met all the requirements for the paperwork and everything, and so I would recommend to the Commissioners that they approve this grant. We have Tom Stuber from Licata here. He would like to say a few words and tell you a little bit about what they're going to be using the money for and how much the total project is.
Good morning, Tom.
Thank you, Commissioners. Banking off the thought for the day, everybody has patience. We have more patience than we can take care of at this point. Licata, as you are aware, is the largest addiction treatment, prevention, and community education agency in the county. We service about 2,000 individuals a year. A year and a half ago, we started a quest to find a new facility so that we could expand our women's programs. We were in an old house in this downtown Lorain that was cramped, and we'd been in there since 1988. It was not handicap accessible and could not accommodate more than 12 women and a total of 3 children. About 4 years ago, through the help of the Community Foundation of Lorain County, the Stocker Foundation, and the Nord Family Foundation, we started a program to also provide services to children of women who came into the program. We found that most children coming into the program had significant developmental delays as a result of living with one or both parents who had an addiction problem. This program was something that's not been done anywhere else in the state, but our difficulty is that we could only admit 3 children at a time. This new facility will allow us to expand from our current capacity of 12 women to 16, and each woman will be able to bring up to 3 children with her into the program. Nowhere else in the state is this happening. This project is a $600,000 project. We are requesting $15,000 from the commissioners to assist us in completing that project. We hope to have the project completed within the next next couple weeks, and we will be having an open house, and we would like to invite you and all members of the community on June 13th at 3:30 to that open house. I am open for questions.
Thank you, Tom. Question?
We're going to miss you downtown, Tom. Who's my neighbor behind the store.
Commissioner, may I add one more comment to what Tom said, please? If you would mind. This is kind of an exciting project, too, because we're trying to go green in building renovation and building construction and get sustainable development. So by use of solid waste funds to renovate buildings, that just supports that concept of doing that. We haven't had a lot of opportunities at these type of projects to use recycled dollars. We've done some playgrounds and playtowns and things like that, very worthy projects, but we've had a bit of a difficult time finding renovation projects to demonstrate to the community at large that may cost just a slightly bit more for recycled products, but it definitely benefits the community in a large way. So I appreciate when Tom came to us, we talked through this, and he had to send back, and they actually had to go back to their architects and find ways of using the materials within the renovation of the building, and it took a little bit of effort on Tom's part. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you for your partnership. Good
Thank you.
luck. Madam Clerk?
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
All right.
And the time of the open house again, Tom?
3:30, I believe.
The time of the open house?
The time of the open house will be June 13th at 3 p.m.
Thank you.
Under Workforce Development, approve and enter an MOU with Workforce Investment Board and Employment Network Partners to identify and coordinate a variety of workforce development resources to create a seamless, integrated system that addresses the needs of employers and job seekers by offering a variety of education, job training, human services, and other workforce development services to the residents of the region effective July 1st, 2008 through June 30th, 2009.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Approve an addendum to MOU C 89080201 with the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Amendment reflects contractor agrees to operate the area for a one-stop center effective retroactive July 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2009.
Mr. Cortez, do you wish to comment on this?
Well, I see you see that there's a laws retro there, and that's simply because we had an option on the second year on the contract, and we needed to modify it a bit to reflect that second year. Things have improved substantially over at Workforce Development. The relationships are better than I could have dreamed for a few years ago. We're getting a tremendous amount of work out there, and just your Project 10, which is working through this very same system, I think Commissioner Cahill may have some things under his comments from last night. That's a few things that were said at a meeting we were at. Demonstrate that the relationships are at the point now where I'm more comfortable with the one-stop, the Workforce Institute, the Workforce Investment Board, and WDA as a unit than I've been in all my years as the administrator. It's really coming along.
Good. I'll so move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
All right.
Under Children's Services, authorize various additions and deletions of personnel in Children's Services to utilize the agency's Visa card for the year 2008, not exceed 2,500, 10,000, and 20,000, and show oil gas card not to exceed 200. Expenditures are work related to conferences, food, lodging, telephone, gas and oil, minor vehicle maintenance, and emergency repairs of county-owned or leased vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under the Sheriff, approve and enter in 2 maintenance agreements, Simus Building Technologies, effective June 1st, 2008 through May 31st, 2011, to be paid from the contract services account with 2 one-year renewal options. One is the fire alarm contract at a cost of $16,284, and the HVAC contract at a cost of $28,428.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
All right.
Approve and enter an amendment agreement with Dr. Ahmed for psychiatric services for inmates at the county jail. Amendment is to reflect record-keeping responsibilities, coverage during vacations, absences, etc., and mental health referrals that are discharged. All other provisions of Resolution 07881 adopted December 6, 2007, number 4, remain in effect.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Approve and enter in a renewal agreement with Identix, Inc. for the live scan fingerprinting system effective June 27, 2008 through June 26, 2009 at an annual cost of $7,147 to be paid from the contract services account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
Do we want to go to the,
That would be very good.
let's go to the public hearing. My watch says 9:45.
Mine too.
Okay, that's two of us.
Me
What do you
too.
say? All right.
Nancy Funai.
This has to do with erosion and sediment control, and Nancy Fanai, Lorain Soil and Water Conservation District, and Dan Gouch and Kristen Brandon from our Lorain County Community Development Department are going to participate in this wonderful endeavor. We thank you all in advance for your assistance.
Well, good morning. This is a public hearing for the MPDS Phase 2 for the erosion sediment control rules for Lorain County. Just a brief history on this. Lorain County Stormwater Management Coordinators were formed back in December 2007 to implement the MPDES Phase 2 for Lorain County so we can be in compliant with the Ohio EPA and the U.S. Clean Water Act of 1972. The coordinators are Bill Holtzman from the Engineer's Office, myself, Kristen Brandon from Community Development, Dan Gouch from Community Development, Jim Body from the Health District, Jerry Ennis and Matt Mishik from the Prosecutor's Office. These coordinators have had numerous meetings and met with the Ohio EPA to ensure proper rules and regulations for Lorain County, which is being presented today at this public hearing. The National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, which is the NPDES, is part of the requirements for the U.S. Clean Water Act of 1972, a structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into the waters of the United States. Under the Act, the EPA has implemented pollution control programs such as setting wastewater standards for industry and has set water quality standards for all contaminants in surface water. The NPDES permit program controls discharges. In the summary for the erosion sediment control rules, it's to establish technical, feasible, and economically reasonable standards to achieve the level of management and conservation practices in order to enable soil erosion and degradation of water of the waters of the state by soil sediment on the land used or being developed for non-farm commercial, industrial, residential, or other non-farm purposes, to establish criteria for determination of acceptability of such management and conservation practices or best management practices, BMPs. These rules apply to soil disturbing activities on the land within unincorporated areas of Lorain County. Lorain Soil and Water Conservation District was named administrator for the erosion and sediment control rules in with cooperation of the Lorain County Engineer's Office, Lorain County Community Development, the Health District, and the Prosecutor's Office. If you'd like, I can give a quick description of the table of contents.
Please do.
Okay. Part of the table of contents is the purpose and the scope, which explains the erosion controls. We also have term definitions, which explains the different wording and the different functions of the program. We have regulated activities, which explains as far as being in compliance of what they can and can't do as far as the contractors and the development. We have standard performances, which we need to follow according to Ohio EPA's rules and regulations. We have application procedures, which will be followed as each individual comes in to apply for the applications for the erosion and sediment control. We have the monitoring for compliance, which will be monitored through our office and the cooperating agencies, also through the prosecutor's office and the commissioners as well. And then we have variances, which will be helped with the townships, appeals, which the developers can appeal, penalties, and also the reviews for inspection and abbreviated plan inspections as well.
And who do these regulations cover?
I'm sorry.
Who do these regulations cover?
These regulations cover all developers
Throughout the county?
throughout the whole county. Yes.
Unincorporated.
Unincorporated.
Yes, the
Because each city has their
unincorporated.
own MPDES. We do that in the contracting business where to stop runoff from construction sites is the easiest way to put it.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah. And they're really tough fines if you violate them.
Yes, EPA has fines of $10,000 per day
Yep.
to developers if they don't follow through with Ohio EPA standards. All this has been worked with. We've been working with Dan Bogoveski on a regular basis with this to make sure that this was done right the first time.
Jerry, did you have comments?
Well, just the commissioners themselves have various remedies. You can authorize whoever you authorize in charge of the program to issue stop orders. we can seek injunctions, and the commissioners themselves can implement fines of up to $100 to $500 a day. I would know, I think we worked quite long and hard to make these as minimal an invasion upon the property owner's rights. They are pretty, there are a lot of other models that we looked at that cover many other areas, and we have pretty much limited this down to construction type things.
Yes.
And these are models that have worked in other entities and seem to work well with developers and that sort of stuff.
Well, Jerry, just to add, I think in the unincorporated areas, you don't have near the runoff into the sewer system, the storm sewer system, because they're not storm sewers out in the unincorporated areas, so they're not near as strict as need be. I've been through a lot of classes on MPDES where my guys, can't back up over barriers, and the different products that are used to stop the runoff that can't be violated during construction process.
Correct.
Unincorporated is a lot different than the incorporated areas when it comes to
It is.
regs. So.
And this is being practiced in other counties in Ohio. So developers, when they do come to Lorain County, and if this is passed, they know the rules and regulations. It just needs to be enforced.
And permits will be
Permits will be
generated
issued through our office, yes.
through the Soil and Water Conservation.
Yes.
That's what you said in the beginning. Very
Yes.
good. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, I do have one more. That
Yes.
won't be available through our building department? They have to go to soil and water? We don't
Well,
have that
there will be,
one-stop?
there will be permitting still through community development, and there will be application permits through our office as well. So it'll be a joint feature. Any fees that are collected through our office, payment will be made to the Lorain County Commissioners, and we will go down to the auditor's office and deliver those payments to
The
you.
contractors, though, can't get the forms to fill out at the county building department?
We would prefer that they come to our office and see us personally. That way, if there's any questions, we're there to take care of their needs and answer any questions and bypass any rigmarole through email, misconstrues, or what have you. We would prefer to talk to them in person.
So they have to run
Commissioner,
around some more to get their building permits?
Absolutely.
Gary?
well, just Commissioner, if you will, for one reason, we can't do that because the building department, it doesn't cover all of the townships. But we've discussed implementing a coordinating system, and we also will be doing this with the townships. We'll be getting like MOUs to them so that their zoning inspectors and everybody's coordinated, and we'll kind of be able to, whether somebody goes to the townships or they go to our building department, health department, or wherever, we're kind of all going to coordinate them so that they're directed to the soil and water
Okay,
department.
so it doesn't get missed and stopped at projects, my concern. It's not
Right.
one-stop shopping.
Correct.
With all the different rules and regs.
Correct.
It makes it difficult. Ooh, I forgot soil and water, so I hold up my project. It's, almost a checklist should be at all those
Yeah,
entities
but
of what you
that's-
have to do to apply.
And we're in the process of creating that in our office. We have several things that we have created as far as form-wise that I have been sharing with the coordinators as well. So we're all on the same page, and everybody has the same thing. So if there's questions,
Is somebody going to notify the North Coast Building Industries Association that they are in effect with the effect date, so all the...
this has been mailed out back in the middle of April. They had till April 28th to make comments. I received no comments from them at
I'm
all.
saying, no, once we implement today, when does it go into effect?
It'll go into effect 30, well,
30
you
days.
have another public hearing, which is next week, and then on the 5th of June, that's if you decide to approve it, I believe it's 30 days after.
Yes.
So 1st of July, if you can notify the building industries that they need to, that we've got it in effect, that'd be a nice tool. Because they'll put it in
Absolutely.
their newsletter and in their emails, so everybody's aware of what they have to
We
do.
we thought that our office would distribute it out in several newspapers, put it on our website as well, so it's very
Okay.
well noticeable.
Information is good.
It is.
Thanks, Nate.
Do you have any other questions, please?
questions? Since this is a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who has a question regarding this matter? If not, I assume then that I need to move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Nancy.
I notice, Madam Clerk, that
Mr.
Attorney
Severs is
Severs
here?
has arrived. So we will go back to item number 11. Mr. Severs is representing the parties. Well, no, he's representing Oberlin. Would you like to speak and tell us who you're representing?
This is a little bit unusual. I am representing the property owners on this annexation.
That is Walmart and the owner of the former Ames property, and the third property owner, which is
We have listed Oberlin Land Company, Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, and Continental Land and
Yes.
Building Company.
Oberlin Land Company owns the property where the Walmart store is, and Continental Land owns the adjacent property, which was split off of where the Ames department store was in Oberlin. And of course, we know that new Walmart's down there also. I was authorized by the city of Oberlin to actually proceed with this annexation petition because, on behalf of the property owners, because this annexation simply encompasses basically a portion of US Route 20 in Oberlin. For various reasons down through the years, that portion of the road that's the subject to the annexation was never annexed. Oberlin now owns the property, the properties on both sides of that right-of-way are now in the city of Oberlin, both on the north and the south. And what we're doing here is simply cleaning it up so that the roadway itself is in the city. The reason for it is kind of obvious in that we have part of the roadway already in the city and both sides of the road in the city. It really clarifies police jurisdiction issues between the sheriff and the city. There's also issues as utilities. And it was important enough for my city council and the Public Works Administrator of the city to have that roadway within the city that they authorized me to proceed. It is a Type 1 expedited annexation with an annexation agreement with Pittsfield Township. And I believe you have a accurate map and plat of the property that we're requesting be annexed. And that's basically the extent of my remarks.
The property includes more than just the road, though, does it not, Eric?
It's pretty much the road right-of-way. In this area, the property owner's property line actually encompasses part of the road right-of-way.
Okay.
It's a right-of-way. It wasn't a 100% take by the state, so that's why I had to ask for the permission of the property owners to do it.
Okay. And the information that the clerk has provided says that there is no hearing required because of the type of annexation it is. Mr. Innes, do you wish to comment, please?
Were you going to read something, Teresa?
Well.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry. It's just that this basically is a procedure where we just have to make sure that the petition requirements and so forth have been made. As usual, Teresa has done a good job of checking through all those things. I have double-checked it. And that includes things to make sure that the petition is proper, that they submit the owners and addresses with their waivers, the township agreement, and those certain things. And we have looked through those and made sure that all of those are there and are proper. And that being the case, the commissioners really don't have any discretion as long as those procedural things are done. Commissioners are obligated to go forth and approve the annexation.
This one was pretty simple, actually.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this issue before us? Seeing none, I'll move for approval as outlined.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Severs.
Thank you. I apologize for being late.
It's okay.
We took care of it. Okay, we are to the report of the county administrator, and you had a recommendation for us as well.
I did, Commissioner. Thank you very much. I see on our agenda we have a 10 o'clock appointment. But prior to that appointment, I'd like to go into executive session for a few minutes because I have a pending matter that I want to discuss with you that's time sensitive. And I ask for that executive session in pursuance to the issues that are allowable under the Sunshine Law. I know we have some guests, but can we ask them to wait just for a few minutes? I promise it won't be long.
Is anybody here from Allied? I don't see Dave Kidder.
Well, what time is
They're
he
horse
supposed to be
whipping
here?
downstairs.
Oh.
Excuse me?
I said I didn't see Dave Kidder.
Yes, get him away, Commissioner.
Well, he has 2 minutes, so can we do this in 2 minutes?
Well, it'll be a few.
3?
It takes us 3 minutes to walk through the door some days.
Maybe you, not us. I'll move for the executive session as outlined by Mr. Cortez.
Second.
Ms.
Brief. Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
All right.
We
We'll
will
be back.
return briefly. The commissioners will reconvene at this time, and we will go to item number B, which is a 10 a.m. appointment with Allied Waste. Ah, there you are. I couldn't see you. We're hiding behind Nancy Fanai. Good morning, Dave Kidder.
Hi, Betty.
How are you? Thank you for coming.
Morning.
Good morning.
I guess there've been some questions raised about the blue jobbies.
Okay.
Those would be carts.
Blue Jobbies,
Hey, whatever you
carts.
want to call 'em.
volume-based cart system.
Yes, as you well know, Carlisle was treated to delivery of cart systems. I personally like mine.
Ask me that again.
I said, as you know, Carlisle Township was treated to delivery of the blue cart system.
Right.
I personally like mine.
Good.
I fill it up every week.
Good. That's what they're there for. Obviously, there were some issues, and I don't want, I know you have questions, and I'll answer them, but the biggest problem we had was with the mailing. And unfortunately, we learned a lesson on mailing that when you're using a company in Phoenix, Arizona, and they send them to the post office, and it's not a first-class mailer, the post office sits on them. And we didn't realize that. So our mailing sat for 2 weeks in Phoenix, and we already had a company scheduled to deliver the carts. We did not deliver those carts ourselves. We hired a third-party company, and that created a nightmare.
Yes, it did.
Everybody else prior to this, when we delivered carts, everybody had a mailer in their hands a week to 10 days prior to the carts.
I don't believe Amherst did they? I think Amherst residents got their carts with no explanation.
No, they had them. They had them. Same day, within a day. Now, those were close. Those were close. I agree with you, Lori. But before we finished in Amherst, everybody had a mailer. Let me put it to you that way. But it has run close using a company out of Phoenix. We may switch to a local company to do mailing from now on. There is a company in Cleveland, but I heard the same thing. Unless you make them a first-class mailer, the post office does not necessarily send them out when they're delivered, which I didn't know that.
Okay.
So,
Well, you can tell you've never run for political office, or
Correct.
you would know that.
right, you're right. So we will correct that problem in the future.
Okay, Dave, I guess my first question would be, I'm sure you guys have projections and things. Who's up next for the changeover to the blue carts in Lorain County,
City of Avon,
City of Avon? And
Yes.
do you have a schedule?
yes.
Can you
The week
give us a
of July,
that?
it's the Monday after the 4th of July holiday. We will start delivering carts.
Is this the rest of Avon? Doesn't Avon already have it in a couple of neighborhoods?
Yes.
'Cause
We
they
will finish Avon.
You'll finish Avon. so-
Everybody in Avon will receive a cart the week of, I think it's the 7th of July, don't quote me, but it's in that area. And obviously, the City of Avon is well aware of that. They want it done by the 1st of August. They want everybody in the community to have a cart by the 1st of August. Now, I say everybody, except for residents who are considered a senior on our senior list, so to speak, that can limit themselves to 2 bags a week. They do not require a cart.
Is that countywide? Because that was one of my questions.
We-
Anybody who's senior or disabled, they don't have to use the cart, is that correct?
The first communities that we started this in was LaGrange, Grafton, LaGrange Township, and Wellington Township. That was not the case when we started originally. But since we did get some pushback, we have, in some of those areas, removed some carts and allowed the residents to go to the bag service only. Because the seniors typically told us that, and what I heard at the meetings, and I've been to about 18 meetings or 20 meetings, more than that, in the last 9 months, was I only generate 1 bag of trash a week. Why do I need this 64-gallon cart? So we got together as a group and said, look, if they can stay within a 2-bag, maybe a 3-bag limit, but I mean, are we gonna, get excited over a bag here? They do not need a cart. And everybody in this last group with that mailer was informed of that. The mailer was late, but they were all informed of that. So what's happening is they're calling us, and we are removing the carts from those senior citizens that want the bag service.
Okay, so
And the
your
rest of
process-
in Avon, that is being offered.
So in your process, Dave, not to stop you, are you doing
Pardon?
this as a common practice now with all
Yes.
of the political subdivisions? If it's a senior address and you're aware, senior being how old?
Right. Anywhere
How
that
old?
in the
55 and
future,
over, 60 and over? I mean, what's the parameters as a senior?
60 and over, Golden Buckeye card.
Okay.
And typically, that's all we require is a Golden Buckeye card.
Okay. And they can go 2 bags and not have the cart?
Right.
Because you're only running, what, 4 vehicles right now there with the mechanical arms throughout the county?
Only what?
How many vehicles do you have with mechanical arms? You're actually doing the mechanical pickup. How many vehicles?
We have 4, and
Right.
by the end of the year, we'll have 7.
Okay, all right. I mean, you're not full press yet then?
No,
Right,
no,
so
no,
a lot
no,
of-
no,
I see
no.
the blue carts all
And
over.
we're in no-
Picked up by hand and dumped, so I mean, it's not.
We've talked to Ridgeville a little bit, we've talked to Avon Lake a little bit, and all we're talking to those folks about is the 900 home pilot project, not citywide anytime soon. Obviously, we want to talk to the city of Lorain. I mean, they are on that, they have the same, in the plan, Lorain, Elyria, Ridgeville, several of those cities can go with a 900 home pilot project and meet the criteria of the plan. So we're not talking about going citywide in any of those cities anytime soon. I would say we're looking at a couple of years, maybe 3, 4, before we would, get some of those larger cities to switch over citywide.
So when you do have the mechanical arm, is there also a second person in the truck? Or is
No.
there- So the guy has to get out and get the bag if it's an elderly person?
Yes.
Or if the can's tipped over or not in the right position, does he get out and turn it or pick it up?
Yes.
Okay.
And in some cases, there's parked cars. They have to get out, move the cart to the truck, wheel it back. But if you ask a driver, which I have done, the guys that have, and I say guys, could be a lady doing this one day soon, they will tell you that it's a whole lot easier to wheel a cart to the truck and wheel it back than it is to throw trash all day. So they don't have a problem with that. And in some cities, we're going to have some issues with parked cars. There's no question about it. I won't name the cities, but we're going to have some issues with them. So, but the drivers seem to be more than willing to move those carts when they need to. And, in the rural areas, some of them, they can't get them close enough to the street. So again, same thing. The individual gets out, moves it back. It's, I don't know if you've seen them yet or not, but the Village of Grafton is, Amherst now has all carts.
Right.
And we've had very few problems, considering how many carts we have out. We have 17,000 carts out now in Lorain County. And when I look at that total number, it's working a lot better than what people may think. We're getting 5% pushback, and then you're getting 5 or 10% of the people that really like them, and you got 80% of the people that don't care. Just pick my trash up. They really don't care. So,
I do have a question about the carts itself. I know I was in a meeting where it was discussed, should it get lost, stolen, damaged, that it was Allied's property and it would be replaced at no charge to the homeowner. I had a homeowner call me and said that they were going to be charged like $50 for a new cart should they need one.
let me put it to you this way. At least through this period of time, and I don't know how long we can continue to do this, but we are replacing the carts at no cost. And we've had about 6 of them that I know of that were stolen or lost, I don't know. Kids took them out and dumped them in a field. We found 3 of them. We have replaced those at no cost. Now, can I do that forever? I don't know. But we are repairing them at no cost. And for right now, if anybody calls me and says, I lost my cart, I have replaced it at no cost. Everybody that has called me.
How much do those carts cost?
Pardon?
How much do they cost?
$55 for the big one, $50 for the small one.
Are they made out of recycled material?
Pardon?
Are they made out of recycled material?
Yes.
Are they?
Yes.
Just-
They can be recycled, and they are made out of recycled material. Absolutely. And in the city of Avon, just so you're aware, this will be the first community in Lorain County that will have a cart for recycling, in addition to the cart for trash.
What
Oh,
Every
color?
resident will have 2 carts
Oh.
in Avon.
What
And
color
it's
is the recycling cart going to be since you made the garbage cart blue? It's going to be a green cart? Is there a differentiation in color?
yes, the recycling cart will be a dark green, and it's smaller. It's not as big as the trash cart.
Are you putting everything in there,
All recyclables can go in that cart.
including newspapers?
With no bags, they don't have to bag anything. They can put their glass, their cans, their newspapers, cardboard boxes, broken down, obviously,
Excuse me,
magazines.
Excuse me, you said glass? I thought you were discontinuing recycling of glass.
We have decided to continue to take glass in all the communities. It is such a large item in terms of weight, volume-wise, and people generate so much of it. We felt we would continue to take the glass because it allows people more room for their trash cart. So and everybody in every community that we currently accept recyclables from or pick it up from is still generating glass. So Avon will be our first test case with, we're going to put an automated truck, we're going to put 2 automated trucks in that town. So 2 of our new trucks that are coming this summer, 2 of them are going to Avon, one to pick up the recyclables, one to pick up the trash.
Yard waste is separate, is that still bundled and put on top?
Yard waste? Yeah, we will continue to pick up yard waste separately, like we do in Amherst. We have a separate truck for 9 months out of the year in Amherst that picks up nothing but yard waste. Now, that's not automated yet. We're picking that up by hand with 2 people.
Are you talking
on a
about
truck.
grass clippings and things like that?
Grass clippings,
Does it-
leaves,
Doesn't it have to
brush.
be in a brown bag or something?
Yes, or, brown bag or bundled brush. Typically, that's what we're getting, Lori. But it's working well. And employment-wise, people have all said you're going to cut employees, and actually, we have more people working in Amherst today than we did before we went to the automated system because of the yard waste truck with 2 people on it. We didn't pick up yard waste separately in Amherst before. It went with the trash. So they are recycling more in Amherst because of their yard waste program now than they ever have. We're recycling huge volumes out of Amherst of yard waste right now. And that also will take place in the city of Avon.
Question, David, to get to probably the point here, the curbside recycling.
Yes.
The issues in the townships, are they being worked on, discussion? We've got the township trustees here, drop-off versus curbside, and the plan stating, and Jerry's given us an opinion here about the EPA. Jerry, maybe you want to talk about what you've given as an opinion, so I don't screw up your legalese.
Okay.
That's a separate issue. Do we want to go into that yet?
Well, it has to do with the curbside versus drop-off, and their cost of curbside pickup, and it
Okay.
all ties together. That's why I figured I'd bring it up. Is that okay with the townships to bring it up all together? They're shaking their heads, yes, okay. Jerry?
Well, basically, the issue was whether or not the plan requires curbside. My reading of it, I think there's a couple of gaps in there. Technically, the commissioners are the ones that are entitled to interpret the plan, but from my discussions with EPA, it goes back to the director of the EPA, and if he thinks we're not interpreting our plan correctly, he can overrule us and implement various sorts of sanctions. And my discussions with the EPA officials indicate that they are pretty hard and fast in their review, and they think the plan requires curbside drop-off. So it would be very, if the commissioners continued to okay the incentive money for drop-off programs, there's a considerable risk there that you would be found not in compliance with EPA. Now, an alternative to that, and of course, one of the things we can discuss here is the townships doing the curbside recycling. And I don't want to misstate folks. We can hear from both Allied and the townships, but my understanding of it, it would be economically impractical because of the additional costs that it would involve to obviously it's more expensive for Allied to do this in townships where there is more territory and fewer customers. And from what I'm getting from the townships, to implement something like that in most cases would be more than the incentive that they would be receiving. That is an alternative. I don't know how practical it is. A third alternative, I believe, is these funds, the incentive funds, if they're not used, go back into the general pot for the solid waste. And the commissioners are entitled there to award monies for recycling projects, just as we awarded monies to Licata here today. There's still some issues with that EPA may not like that, but I think they have a much harder argument with us because we certainly are encouraging recycling to do that. I think you're going to probably hear from the townships their position that the drop-off actually is more productive and does recycle. And it certainly seems to me it's better than not doing anything, so that would be another alternative. Doesn't mean you have to, you can kind of do some kind of in-between thing. You don't have to do, you could take each application and look at it, see how much it encourages recycling. If to meet the idea of the plan to encourage drop-off, you don't have to necessarily do the exact same amounts that they would have gotten if they had gotten the incentive. You have a lot of options and rooms to work with. So I think those are your three basic alternatives.
Thank you, Jerry. You have comments? Dave?
Do I have a comment? Well, we have not spoken to the townships individually recently about to those townships specifically that have switched to the cart system and do not have curbside recycling. But we did sit down in the last couple of days and examine some opportunities there. And I think we can sit down with those individual townships like Carlisle and Huntington, Camden, there's one more, Penfield, that has switched to the VBS system, but they don't have curbside. If they are interested in curbside and knowing that may jeopardize their drop-off, or it might obviously will have some effect on their drop-off, we believe we might have a plan that we could implement to achieve what the Ohio EPA is looking for.
Now, two of Carlisle's trustees are here. One of Huntington's trustees is here. Do you want to comment? Mr. White from Carlisle?
Do you need me up here anymore?
Probably.
Maybe
Three questions, David.
I think we're going to have a little discussion. You can't leave the front of the room. No, you're up front.
You get the hot seat, I guess. Yeah. Commissioners Bob White, Carlisle Township. As I'm sure you know, Carlisle Township has a very effective drop-off program. We have 2 different sites. In fact, the most recent site that we built was built with solid waste money. I took a look at the solid waste plan. I don't see anything in that plan that says we have to blue bag. If there's something in there that the EPA is pointing to, I'd like to know what it is, because I don't see it. We relied on what it says in that plan to continue and to adopt the plan. And now we're being told that we're going to be denied our incentive funds. We've also been told in order to blue bag, it's going to cost our residents collectively over $100,000 per year. And how can we justify making our residents pay over $100,000 per year to get $20,000 in grant money? We can't do it.
No.
There's no justification for it. And what we will be forced to do, if we don't get our grant money, we're going to be forced to shop our recyclables outside the county, which means the county doesn't get credit for them either. And there's really no other choice for us at that point. We're going to have to start shopping to see who will pay us the most for our recyclables. And we, as Mr. Kidder knows, we have had some pushback from the blue carts. A lot of people are very concerned about it. We understand why Allied wants to go to them, and that's fine. But for us to go adopt the plan, go along with everything that everyone has asked us to do, which we have done in good faith, and then still be denied our grant money when we are recycling as much in Carlisle Township, more than many of the other entities that are blue bagging, doesn't make sense. And we cannot, in good faith, go ahead and start blue bagging at a cost that's going to be more than what we're going to get, what the township will get. And even if we wanted to give it back to our residents, it wouldn't make up for it. They're already doing the job. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mary Beth Derekito, Huntington Township Trustee.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have to agree with everything that Bob White has said. Our situation is a little bit different from Carlisle's. We also collect garbage. We're charging $1 a bag for garbage, taking recyclables at no cost. From the very beginning of our program, we've been able to take cardboard, aluminum, metals, glass, plastic, tin cans, paper. And as I look at the trailers now, I can see how the amount of recyclables we're collecting increases quite steadily. We've also, in the last year or so, started taking used oil, and we're using that in a used oil furnace to heat our garage. So we all along have been collecting more materials than what we're required, and as I said, it picks up steadily. We also have gained more customers since the carts went out. So I think our community supports this program. I think they'd be very unhappy if we did anything to stop it, and frankly, we don't intend to stop it. It's worked too well. Our people are dedicated to it. It's a little investment of time and gasoline on their part to take things to the recycling center on Saturdays. They've been willing to do this. Those that prefer to have their garbage picked up at their house do have contracts with Allied Waste. But it's worked well in our community, and we just don't see any reason at all to change this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mary Beth, didn't you tell me, didn't you use some other kind of funds from community development to build a?
Well, for the parkland,
Okay.
we've used some of,
Okay.
no, we've used recycling money and grants that we got through the solid waste office for recycled aluminum bleachers, players' benches, parking stops. We actually bought the used oil furnace with money from solid waste. So I think the township has benefited a great deal from it. The aluminum can money we have donated to the burn unit at Metro, and the people in the community have supported that because many have known people that have used that program, and they have preferred to have the money go there than back into the community.
I see you have a big cheerleader in your resident, Ron Twining. While you were
Yes.
talking, he was doing the cheer stuff.
Well, it's been a super program, hasn't it? And it's especially now I notice, I looked through the list of people that had brought garbage in and paid for it, and it averages 1 to 2 bags a family. Now, we don't get the really large families because in their case, it's just as economical to go with Allied Waste. But for the single people or couple people in the family, older families, 1 or 2 bags a week does it. And of course, the papers and magazines go into the Abitibi containers. So, I think we really are constantly increasing the amount of recyclables that we get.
Thank you
Guys
very
do a
much.
good job over there.
Now, David, I think I heard you make some comments that might be of interest to Carlisle Township. If you had some further discussion, did Carlisle Township hear those comments? Okay. Yes, Jerry?
Do you want to ask for other comments?
Sure. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to comment? We mentioned those two townships specifically because they were sitting together. Anyone else? Okay, we certainly appreciate your coming. I think this is going to be a topic of ongoing discussion. And for the record, I like my blue recycling cart. She didn't like it when I called it the southern name.
I just want to clarify, Bob, I don't know if you know this, but originally the grant incentive money came before the commissioners at one of our meetings. We all signed it, approved it, and then it went back, and then it was stopped. All three of us, I believe, think that that money should go to the townships. And Jerry said there may be a way to do that, maybe not through incentive, but in another capacity, but somehow, some way, we need to get that money to you because you do a great job of recycling, and we want you to continue to do so. So somehow, some way, I think did the EPA director actually say we would not be in compliance? I say we go for it and see what happens. And what kind of sanction would they bring against us? Would it be financial or a slap on the wrist?
It's you don't get any direct answer, and I'm not talking with the director. I'm talking with somebody else in the department, and their standard answer well, this will be called to the attention of the director, and then the director has the option to determine you're not in compliance. They won't give you any commitment or any really likelihood as to what they will do, or whether they will then find us not to be in compliance, or whether what sort of options they would do. Probably the most likely one they would just tell us to get into compliance to continue the grants. But I just have to advise you, there seems to be a fairly substantial level of risk there, especially now that their attention has been called to the whole
And what
thing.
is our risk? What would happen to us?
Well, is it possible that they could, and I don't know whether Dan can answer that better, but is it possible that they could call back the funds? That's a possibility. It seems to be fairly remote from my discussions with them, but
this is our plan. We
Right,
made
and they start off with the
supposedly made
concept
this plan and submit it to the EPA.
I mean, you just
So
when you
can
discuss it with these people, you go around in circles, because you start off with the concept that it's our plan, we have the right to interpret it, and I, as your legal counsel, I believe there are some gaps in there sufficient enough to allow the grants, but
can the policy committee get together and make an amendment to reflect the change, or
well,
to specify that this is what we want to do?
Well, I think the problem with that, when we discussed this a week or 10 days last week.
When I wasn't here.
When you weren't here, we were discussing that then it would have to go back to a vote to everybody
Right.
else again if it goes to the policy. That was, we were looking for clarification, because every phone call I've had, and I've talked to Jerry on this and Dan, is it the policy committee, or is it the commissioners in charge of the plan and altering it? I think that's what we were waiting on. Because if we don't get the incentive dollars out, they're gonna fall back into the general fund. There's gotta be another way to redirect those.
right.
But then, based on the fallout from the EPA, anytime you call I always said, never ask a question until you know the answer. If not, don't bother asking the question. I think we've fallen in notifying, alerting them to something's going on here, which is probably not in our best interest, but then always it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission also. So, I mean, we can bounce it both ways, but I think we've already alerted them, so now we have to do our due diligence before we figure out how we're going to address the situation. I mean, I'm big into recycling. I like to have the product recycled. big proponent of that since the early 90s, so I understand the drop-offs and what they're doing, but we still have to do it, and Bob White being an attorney, we have to do it legally also, so we don't end up damaging the plan or the finances, that everyone doesn't benefit from it also, correct, Jerry?
Right. Yes, that's correct.
So, Mr. Kidder, if you could go into some type of discussions with the townships to this effects, and get back with us in the next couple of weeks, maybe, if need be, Mr. Cordez or Mr. Twining can help broker that meeting to keep cool heads. We might be able to get something worked out here, I would hope.
Well, not at the cost that Mr. White said. If it's going to cost him $100,000 to get 20, that's not worth it.
Well, Mr. Kidder hasn't talked to them in a few months, he said, and they have some options for the townships. Correct, David? Is that what you voted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we can go on two levels. I can talk with Dan Billman again about how we might redirect it as to just a general awarding of the money, and at the same time we can pursue what opportunities we have to provide the curbside in the townships.
Okay. We have a plan of action. Thank you again, everyone, for coming and participating in this discussion. At this time, we'll return to Mr. Cordez's report as county administrator.
Oh, so much has gone on, I forgot what I was going to report.
Good.
Good.
Oh,
Jerry, whoever's next. Don't give him a chance to think.
Actually, Commissioners, I didn't have much for today, but I will let you know that tonight I'll be attending the second wave of graduates from Project Grad from the program at Southview High School in Lorain, and I'm glad that we have a second graduating class and that we're giving away the tuition tonight to those people who have successfully completed that program. What that does for those folks is if they participate all through their high school years, it gives them a $4,000 stipend towards their tuition for college, and they get $1,000 a year. I'm pleased to let you know that if they go to Lorain Community College, most of them will receive scholarships because the grade point averages in grads has to be kept at a high level. So they usually don't have any cost for the first 2 years, and an arrangement with the college allows them to bank their first 2 years, so they get, the majority of them will receive free first and second year at Lorain Community College, and then $2,000 in their third and fourth year of grad money. So it's a great incentive, especially in some of the pockets in Lorain that have experienced some difficult situations over the last several years with jobs and poverty. So for the second year in a row, I get to give out with other members of the community, leaders of the community, some of the scholarships, and I'm really looking forward to doing that tonight. So great program for Lorain. That's all I have to report. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, this is County Prosecutor.
I think I've already given my report.
Thank you, Jerry.
Commissioners report.
Another type of recycling that we had brought up a while ago, and that's for prescription drugs. Received a letter from Joyce Davis from the Lorain County General Health District, and what they do, it's a drug repository program for prescription assistance. I don't know, Mr. Billman, are you aware of this program? Because you were talking about recycling prescription drugs. It's persons with financial need or have limited medication insurance coverage. And if there's anybody out there that is in need of that, she has a website. It's jdavis@loraincountyhealth.com. Secondly, and I was out for all last week, but a few things that came to my attention. When I returned, I got a letter regarding Golden Acres, and it is from Douglas Holt. And I'd like to read it. It said, I recently had an opportunity to visit my mother, who is a resident at Golden Acres Nursing Home in Amherst. After spending a large part of the 4 hours with her, it was my opinion that the staff at Golden Acres sincerely does its best to provide quality care and services to residents. Your staff appeared to me to be sincerely interested in the patients. They spoke to the patients with respect and dignity, and the staff was also very cordial. I was also particularly impressed with your administrator, Miss Jerry Dahl. When I had interaction with her, my mother appeared to be getting excellent physical therapy services, hygiene assistance, and beauty shop participation. I want to write this letter and express my appreciation for my mother's safety and comfort while she has been a resident at your nursing home. thank you very much. I just want to let you know that we have great directors over there. Jerry does a good job, and so do our employees. And then one of our other directors, Tom Kelly, Saturday, August 9th, the Real Heroes Breakfast Committee of Lorain County Red Cross has chosen the Lorain County Emergency Management Agency Tom Kelly Director as the recipient of this year's Community Hero Award. So kudos to Tom. He's a good guy, too. And I think that's it.
Okay. Commissioner, tag on to the drug repository. Did bring it up last week. You missed it at your meeting. But actually, you don't need Jay Davis. That's for electronic format. LorainCountyHealth.com has it. They do a very good job. We actually started with this a month ago with an issue with a 20-year-old severe MS, disabled.
I was there for that.
Oh, you were there for that? Okay, all right. But they did help out with getting him his drugs he needed. And they also brought this up the other day. We were at the Senior Fest, Commissioner Blair and I, and actually it was asked about down there, so people do watch our meeting. So I guess it's working to some degree. But yeah, the repository is a wonderful thing. I had the opportunity last Friday to spend the morning with Tom Kelly and representatives from our county health department and the sheriff's department. Ken Pierce was there, Kathy Boylan from Elyria, Richard Sendes from the sheriff's. We did a pandemic flu plan tabletop exercise.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. Well, it was in case of emergencies, and they had 6 counties there. Cuyahoga County, Lake, Geauga, I believe Summit. Oh, it was NOACA plus 1. So
Well,
it
that
was a neat
sound-
exercise to understand what happens in the problem when there's, a major outbreak in a regional area. I mean, when you shut down, you come down to shutting down factories and schools and not letting people do social gatherings. What do you do with churches and parades? It's quite interesting. I'd like to thank Tom for that. We've got a lot of work cut out for us. That night, Friday night, we had Governor Strickland was in town. He did a great job telling us everything that's going on in Ohio. And I had even a better Friday afternoon because as I left the tabletop exercise, I was late for a ribbon cutting with Commissioner Blair at Route 301. I then had to go to the hospital. My daughter went into labor, and I told her I got a dinner at 7 o'clock. You got to be done. So at 6:10, she delivered a baby girl to us. I got out there just in time, showed up in time for the dinner, and blew back out. So thank you, Brittany. Nice job. Keep me on schedule.
It's a family affair.
Yeah, Alina and Nicole, yes, it was wonderful. What else did we have in here? Pride Day cleanup. Thank you, Mr. Billman. That went off quite successful. I had about 11 people helping me on Broadway in Lorain and Sheffield Township from 28th Street to Route 254. We got that all cleaned up. It's actually, this is my 5th year cleaning that area. It's actually getting better every year, so we have less need for bags. So they're doing a nice job. They're cleaning it up. I'll leave some of this for you, Commissioner. I did have Wednesday, Mr. Cordez and myself attended the Leading Edge Awards, which is a group, Entrepreneur Edge, 16 counties involved of entrepreneurs, mid-level companies they call themselves, 500-600 employees and smaller. It was nice to see, you have an opportunity to meet a gentleman, Chris Carroll from Carroll Manufacturing and Sales in Lorain County. And he wasn't aware of everything the government does, and we weren't aware of who he was. So it was nice to get into those groups and hear their discussions. We spent about 2 hours in a meeting with them, round table for them they did. And it was kind of interesting that a lot of business people, myself included prior, used to complain about government doesn't do anything for us. And to see what the business community doesn't know what's offered to government. We brought up WIB boards, our Workforce Investment Board. They had no clue what we were talking about. And then for the last hour of the meeting, it seemed like we were engaged in the conversation, them asking questions. I'm sure Mr. Cordes will expound on that.
No, he's done talking.
He's done.
Oh, he's done?
Well,
On the way to jump in,
I
I
was-
gave him an opportunity.
I was actually
No,
waiting
we
for
don't want him
Commissioner Kalo to report out on that, so that I didn't step on his report, but we had a golden opportunity.
Gave him the open door.
Yes, he did. We had a golden opportunity last night to demonstrate that Lorain County is leading the way in a lot of these issues of businesses. I will tell you that Lee Fisher was there for about 25 minutes. He had a very tight schedule, and after he left, there was another hour and a half for the companies to dialogue, and it was kind of dropping off. And Commissioner Kalo, myself, and Marcia Ballinger from the college was there representing Roy Church, and we kind of spent a lot of time with these companies from outside Lorain County, telling them about what we're doing here. And there was a big buzz when we left, specifically on things like the Growth Partnership, Project 10, our going out and meeting with the companies, our team, Lorain County. Even afterwards, during cocktail hour, people were coming up and saying, wow, you guys got some great programs here. Why don't we have them where we are? And I said, well, I don't want to tell you you don't have them. I'm just going to tell you that if you don't have them, you should have them, but you should find out if you do have them, because there seemed to be a real big disconnect with how they were approaching what government was doing within their communities. I didn't want to leave them with a bad taste towards their own folks, because certainly some of those communities are doing a lot of fine things themselves. But I would say that we impressed them. It was a great opportunity to see 16 counties here in Lorain County spotlight our community, our college, and to be able to demonstrate to them that we have the right leadership in Lorain County. And hopefully we'll have opportunities like that in the future. This is my second year at the event, and I think it went better here in Lorain County than it did last year down at Akron University, and next year it'll be at Kent State. And we were also a small sponsor for the Gross Partnership, so we got our branding and our logo out there for the group, and hopefully we'll be able to do something with them next year. Thanks, Commissioner.
Okay, and I'm done one more. I have a complaint. We've been dealing with this for about 60 days now. Scott McDonald, the dentist across the street with his Greyhound, May 13th letter. I mean, I understand the problem with transients downtown and problems. It's going to disrupt his business. Let's figure a way to move it or get the hell out of here and have somebody else take care of it.
Well, I was going to do it in administrative fashion with you guys, but we might as well do it here.
I mean, it's a public letter the gentleman sent out.
Commissioner,
I'm worried about personal safety for his employees and such like that. I have the same issues downtown Lorain sometimes.
Let me be candid. I mean,
Okay.
Mr. Twining and myself and Robin have been on top of this for quite a while. Now, all of a sudden, we've become responsible for all the vagrants that wander around Elyria in the downtown area. The fact is that we have a very large housing project over there, and there are some folks that are in this area down in that corner that have been there before we moved transit down there, and these issues have existed before down there. But now all of a sudden, everybody that's poor or down on their luck or a transient has now become a bus rider, and I just don't buy that for one moment. But to alleviate the concerns, we have gone to the extra lengths of, we installed the bus lane. We met with Elyria. Elyria partnered very nicely with us, and we installed temporary short-term parking for folks. We posted signs at the parking lots on the corner, which was within a few hundred feet of where Greyhound is. We've installed signs in this gentleman's lot. There's not a lot more we can do. I don't believe that the problem is being completely caused by Greyhound, but yes, do some people discourteously park or pull into that lot? It happens. It happens to us in our lots all day long. There was one gentleman that I was made aware that went over to the Chronicle, wanted to use the bathrooms. They refused to let him use the bathroom, so I think that he relieved himself on the floor. That didn't make him a Greyhound bus rider, but we heard about it over at Greyhound. And so you're going to have to make, I guess, a decision as a board. Do you want to discontinue our relationship with Greyhound because these folks believe it brings this element in, or do we want to provide a greater service to this community? You guys went out and took a risk and assumed some of the cost to make sure that this community was served by bus transit so that the people that couldn't afford other opportunities were served. I still laud you for doing that because this is a unique relationship. Absent us doing it, maybe somebody else would, but I don't think they're going to stay economically viable if they're just trying to do this. They'll have to go to Cleveland to get a Greyhound bus.
Is there a way that we can monitor this more with the employees? Like I said, we closed at 4:30 for the last 2 hours after it's been an issue. I mean, do we have any type of, we don't have any monitoring around here.
Well, we don't. Well, I read the letter, and I've read. In fact, I have it with me. I read it a couple times. The evening hours, none of these businesses are. The dentist office is closed in the evening also.
It's until 6:30 right there.
Well, they're there until 6:30 now.
You've had discussion, Ron?
Ron, we all have.
I just wanted to say that we do have a camera. That was a requirement of Greyhound. So there's a monitoring camera for our building inside and the immediate front of the building so we can monitor that. But we still don't know whether they're a Greyhound rider or somebody in the downtown area. We also have the possibility of, we originally took over Greyhound and said that we might need 2 part-time employees. We've only hired 1. I've interviewed another person for part-time, and we could have a split shift where somebody starts at, say, 6:30 or 7 to cover the first pick up at 7:30 or 8, and then the other person would leave at, say, maybe 6 or 6:30, because I believe it's 5:30 when the last Greyhound bus comes. So we could split that and cover it. We aren't right now.
The realization is the economics of running this is very, very tight.
Right.
And the other thing is, I don't want to be in the, what I would consider safety forces business. It's not our responsibility to run vagrants out of downtown Elyria. I've informed the author of that letter on multiple occasions that he has a safety force issue to contact the city of Elyria. And I don't want to be guaranteeing their safety coming out of the building. Their business hours end around 4:30, 5 o'clock, at the same time our business hours. They remain afterwards, I mean, just like a lot of our employees do. But guess what? We don't provide those services for our employees either. On multiple occasions, we've had people living in our garage, and we had a few people living in our restrooms downstairs that we had to bounce out of the building. It happens. It's an unfortunate consequence.
If it's been a significant increase since the Greyhound has got there.
I don't know that it's a significant increase. I think that it's more an inconvenience when people park at the end of the corner there and use the lot. The people that are drifting around, Commissioner, I don't think they're riding Greyhound. Ron, I mean, Ronnie, we have not been able to figure out that these people that are a little bit more of loitering in that area have been Greyhound riders. They're just loitering in the area, correct?
Yeah, the only loitering that, and I get here early and leave late, the only loitering is, I believe, a result of the high-rise. A few years ago, that was seniors only, and recently it's been changed for seniors and low income. Not that loitering comes from only low income, but, you know, that's when I think there was an increase in some of loitering, which I wouldn't classify as loitering. You're just people with nothing to do, and they're out walking and looking. But I don't think it's been a cause or caused by Greyhound at all.
But I do believe that the parking issue is a bit of an inconvenience. And we have done everything reasonably responsible to make sure that people don't park in the lot. The one thing, Commissioner, I have actually refused to do is I'm not going to be the parking lot police. I've instructed Robin that, you know, they call over, they say, well, somebody's parking in a lot, get them out. We're not going to do that. Well, we can't do that with our lots, and we can't do that. I'm not going to become responsible for every time somebody pulls in that lot, running out there and arguing with them to leave the lot. I'm sorry for that, and I wish there was a better solution. The only other solution I can offer that would alleviate all the burdens that this gentleman believes that he is suffering as a consequence of his decision is not to have Greyhound down there. And so we move it someplace else, and then somebody else begins to complain.
I
and somebody else
understand that. I mean,
begins to
there's no
complain.
place that's going to be convenient except on the highway where it belongs, not in the downtown area anyway. We knew that going into it.
Now, I would say if we do get additional funding and we eventually get our train station project up and running, we will be moving all those services down to that facility
That's where it
down there.
belongs,
The project is lagged due to funding, and we're getting ready to propose phase 2, but that still isn't going to give us the money we need for the outside grounds and the parking surfaces out there, which are going to take considerably more. But it's going to be a couple of years before this is alleviated. I don't like having discussions with you, Commissioner, where I don't have firm solutions. I think that we've been reasonable. I think we've done due diligence, and we've tried to make this work. If there's any other suggestions or things you want us to do, we will certainly be agreeable to trying to get them done. But absent somebody monitoring that lot for them, I don't know how we're supposed to deal with that.
And if I could make two real brief statements, I'm not sure that Greyhound is the situation here, honestly. I think it's an opportunity to say there's a problem, and so let's blame it on Greyhound because that's the most recent occurrence that we can look for somebody to fix a perceived problem. That's one thing. I will also note that I have not been in good standing with the dentist as the neighbor for some period of time, ever since the previous board bought the building. As you know, we were housed in that building, and I used to take care of flowers on the second floor. Letters to the editors, letters to the commissioners, calls to the Chronicle Telegram with letters, complaining about me being up there watering flowers with no safety rail, even though I did it on my time, have been a constant. concern of the dentist, so I'm taking it maybe a little lightly because I have that history, and I just want to acknowledge it.
And thank you for that. I was actually going to suggest that there has been rubs in the relationship earlier on, too, but I was going to let that go. But thank you for taking that burden, Ron. Commissioners, please rest assured, I think that we have been good neighbors to and done everything we can to this point. If it escalates, we will certainly apply additional reasonable measures, but we have not just let his concerns go unaddressed. If you would like, I would respond to the letter. I actually was not going to respond to the letter because I think that's just going to start a letter exchange. He's well aware, and we've had personal discussions with him of all the steps that we've taken. And I don't think anything short of Greyhound leaving there is going to be a solution that he's going to find
I would
agreeable.
just send a letter through the board then that he should contact his safety services if he's having an issue in his parking lot.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner.
Anything else?
I'm done.
Good. It almost matches.
Almost
You can
matches.
have it. That's
Okay.
from the ribbon cutting in Sheffield Village. And there was even a resident who brought homemade peanut butter cookies
They
to the
were
ribbon
awesome.
cutting. They were, they're
Mrs.
the best I've
Ackerman?
ever tasted.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yes. I got there in time for the cookies.
Yeah, I did the work and he got the cookies. Last meeting, I believe it was, I mentioned about NOACA's executive committee that was going to discuss some things that included economic development, funding issues that may or may not enhance the region. And both of the newspapers, I think, carried some stories about that. As it turned out, we had such an extensive executive session that we never got to those items on the agenda. So the topic has been carried forward, excuse me, to Friday, June 6th at 10 a.m., where we'll take up with that subject. This week, we also made a little history here in Lorain County, thanks to Ernie Smith, our IT director. On Tuesday, we participated in a video conference with the Ohio Department of Development, Lieutenant Governor Lee Fisher. There were 11 of us in attendance, and we talked about the grant guidelines for the Ohio Department of Development's grant that they started talking about at the summit last fall. And this information is going to be on their website, and it's available to village, city, townships, etc., partnering together, at least 3 in a partnership. And the application deadline is July 29th. So we're cooking up some applications, and you can apply more than once, and I think we're probably going to do that too. So that's my report, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Board correspondence.
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Public comment.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to talk after you listen to us all morning? Did you ask for an executive session other than the one we already had?
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
we're
going to
talking about
bore you to
personnel
tears for a
issues.
while, Commissioner.
I refuse to cry.
I didn't bring any pie either.
Well, I'll cry a little.
Okay.
I move we go into executive session for the purposes outlined.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel.
We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license.
We also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured or needs extreme medical care.
In 1787, the Continental Congress organized the lands from the Ohio River to the Mississippi into the Northwest Territories. In 1803, the first of these territories to become a state was Ohio. Ohio was in turn divided into various land grants, including the Connecticut Western Reserve in the northeast corner of the state. The Western Reserve included the area that is today Lorain County. As Ohio gradually increased its counties to the present 88, the land we know as Lorain County went through several changes. Until 1810, the area was split between Geauga and Portage counties. When the area was being organized into Lorain County in 1822, it was created out of land from Huron, Cuyahoga, and Medina counties. At the time of its birth, Lorain County included Olmsted Township, now in Cuyahoga County, Spencer and Homer Townships, now in Medina County, and Troy and Sullivan Townships, now in Ashland County. This map illustrates the county as it appeared at the time of Ohio's centennial, and although some of the townships have been absorbed by incorporation, it also represents the shape of Lorain County today. Let's take a brief historical look at each of Lorain County's 21 townships. In 1807, the Calvin Hoadley and Herman Bronson families of Waterbury, Connecticut, began the settlement of Columbia. After a 3-month trek, the pioneers arrived in their new homeland in time to celebrate Christmas. The Bronsons, including their 7-month-old son, began that winter sheltered by their overturned bobsled wagon, converted into a frontier lean-to. The mouth of the Black River also saw the beginning of its first settlement in 1807, when Azariah Beebe established a trading post for Nathan Perry. This area, which 20 years earlier had seen a short-lived Moravian mission, would gradually grow into the village of Charleston in the township called Black River. Years later, this township would be removed from county maps because of the incorporation of the city of Lorain. Charleston adopted the county's name of Lorain when the city was incorporated in 1874. The dramatic growth of the city was spurred on by the expanding fishing and shipbuilding industries. In 1894, when Tom Johnson brought his steel mill to town, Lorain's destiny to be the county's largest city was assured. In 1813, the township of Ridgeville was officially organized. 3 years earlier, members of the Beebe, Terrell, and Root families had established this new settlement they called Rootstown. The change to Ridgeville was decided upon to indicate the sand ridges that passed through the area and provided transportation routes and fertile farmland. The area around the intersection of Butternut Ridge and Roots Road, first called Briggs Corner, was by 1880 known as Fields Corners and was the site of the town's water well. With the growth of the city of North Ridgeville, the township of Ridgeville was incorporated out of existence. In 1810, Silas Wilmot, along with Asa and Ira Morgan, erected a cabin on Butternut Ridge, and the community later called Eaton Township was begun. Wilmot married Chloe Hubbard of Ashtabula, and they were given the cabin, thereby becoming the township's pioneering couple. When Ridgeville Township was organized in 1813, it included Eaton, which was at that time called Holbrook. While the area was still a part of Cuyahoga County, the township of Eaton was separated from Ridgeville. Its first officers were elected in 1823, while the township was in transition to the new Lorain County. Amherst's township's founding can be traced to one Jacob Shoup. After first settling on the Black River, he moved in 1811 to the Beaver Creek. By 1815, he had erected a grist mill and the area's first distillery. Whiskeyville, today the intersection of Routes 58 and 113, earned its nickname as a center for the production of this important pioneer commodity. As the primary community of the township developed at the Old Spring, it came to be known as Amherst Corners. By 1836, the name Amherstville was recorded in the county offices, and in 1873, the town was incorporated as North Amherst. In 1909, the U.S. Postal Service had to choose between the villages of North and South Amherst. They chose the former, which then became the official and present-day Amherst. In 1917, in the northeast corner of the county, the township of Avon became another of Lorain County's 21 townships to vanish due to city incorporation. In 1814, Wilbur Cahoon had arrived from Montgomery County, New York, to become the first to settle in what was then Troy Township of Cuyahoga County. The farming community grew around its power source, the French Creek. Development along the interurban line would incorporate the northern part of the township into the city of Avon Lake in 1911, with the remainder of the township becoming the village of Avon in 1917. It was families such as the Burrell, Day, and Roots who established themselves in the Sheffield area in 1815 and 16. The township of Sheffield would not actually be created until 1824, when the newly elected Lorain County Commissioners made the township one of the first acts of their administration. The land had been primarily in Cuyahoga County prior to the 1822 reorganization. The southwest corner of the township was in Huron County and is today the only place to find a small section still called Sheffield Township. The remainder of the area has been incorporated, like its neighbor Avon, with the north becoming Sheffield Lake and the south the village of Sheffield. In 1816, Colonel Henry Brown of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, purchased a large tract of land known as Number 6, Range 19. Mr. Brown would later name the township after himself by simply adding Helm to his family name. Like the Old Saxon Ham, the suffix meant home. The Deacon Shepherd family were the first settlers when they arrived on July 4, 1817. The village of Brownhelm Mills, located in Benjamin Bacon's Mill Hollow, was one of 3 communities to develop. Bacon's Corners, or the center, was 3 miles east of the hollow, while just west of the hollow was Rugby, where stores, a church, a school, and the post office were located. The first settlers to the Grafton Township area were Jonathan and Grendall Rawson in 1816. 10 years later, the Rawsons were forced to build a grist mill, or forfeit their land under their original agreement with the Western Reserve Land Company. Railroads and quarries were the greatest influence on the growth of the village the locals called Rawsonville. The quarrying industry in particular was responsible for the influx of French-Canadian, Welsh, Irish, Polish, and German immigrants. In 1877, when the village was being incorporated, the name Rawsonville was dropped in favor of the railroad station name of Grafton. Originally a part of Elyria Township, Carlisle was settled in 1816 by John Bacon of Windham County, Vermont. When the new Lorain County was being organized in 1822, Carlisle Township became its own entity. LaPorte developed as the township village with Phineas Johnson as the first postmaster and hotel owner. In 1840, Anson Brayman's Carlisle Nursery became the first of its kind in Lorain County. Quarrying was another important industry of the township, as the sandstone blocks were used for city buildings as far away as Toronto. Founding father Heman Ely owned over 10,000 acres of the land that would be developed into the township of Elyria, and the city, which also bears his family name. In 1817, Artemus Beebe headed a work crew that came to establish a new village at the Y of the Black River branches. Mills were constructed and the main street cleared. Beebe's crew also erected a home for Mr. Ely at Broad and East Bridge Streets, and a home for himself across the street, which became the BB Tavern. Both structures avoided demolition until well into the 20th century. In 1822, Mr. Ely spearheaded the movement to create Lorain County. He donated the land for the county courthouse, thus influencing the choice of Elyria as the county seat. Mr. Ely's little village would develop into a city with a varied industrial base as well as the center of government for Lorain County. Simon Durand came to America as an interpreter for Revolutionary War hero French General Lafayette. Durand remained in the new nation and in the winter of 1817 moved from New York State to the 160 acres he had purchased south of Brownhelm. 10 years later, the population of the area was enough to support the formation of a new township. With the southern portion ceded to Brighton and the northern portion annexed from Brownhelm, the township of Henrietta was created in 1827. Although New England families represented the majority of settlers to the area in 1818, one of the pioneers was William Welling of Montgomery County, New York. History is not clear if the community was named in honor of Welling or for the famous English Duke of Wellington, hero of Europe's recent Napoleonic Wars. With the coming of the railroad, Wellington grew into an agricultural marketplace, and in fact was the nation's leader in cheese production from 1870 to 1900. The county fair, now located in Wellington, helps to continue the depiction of small-town America shown in native son Archibald Willard's famous painting, The Spirit of '76. In 1818, Joseph Sage and the family of his son-in-law, John Laborie, journeyed through a severe winter from Connecticut to their new homestead in Huntington Township. More pioneering families came to the area, and by 1822, the population was such that the Medina County Commissioners incorporated the township, using the Huntington, Connecticut hometown of many of the settlers as its new name. Lumber, grain, and cheese dominated the local economy. In 1824, when Lorain County came into full operation, Huntington was transferred from Medina County. The citizens of Old Russia Township, that had been first settled in 1818, requested detachment from Black River Township in 1825. The town and college of Oberlin were founded in 1833 and would grow to dominate the area. The Oberlin concept combined a Christian community and a Christian coeducational institute. Through the influence of founders John Shippard and Philo Stewart, New York businessman Arthur Tappan, and noted evangelist Charles Finney, the college would become not only co-ed, but also multiracial and the nation's leader in the abolitionist movement. The independent spirit that created the first Russia Township was evident once again in 1992, as New Russia Township detached itself from Oberlin. In 1820, the Peter Penfield family began the permanent settlement of the area he had first selected in the fall of 1818. Penfield Township's organizational election was held in April of 1825. The first religious service was held in 1826, and the first school was in session in the summer of 1829. The township's first post office put the emphasis on post and not the office. As the Penfields lived well off the established mail route, a hollow tree near the river was used by the local residents for sending and receiving the mail. The township, with its fertile soil, grew into a part of Lorain County's rich agricultural heritage. In the fall of 1820, Abner Loveland Jr. became the first permanent settler of Brighton. Within a year, the families of Joseph Kingsbury and Abner Loveland Sr. had arrived, and the new community began to grow. With elections held in the spring of 1823, Brighton Township was being organized at the same time the area was being transferred from Medina to Lorain County. Like much of the new county, Brighton was essentially agricultural. Although Pittsfield's first settlers arrived in 1813, the area was considered too dangerous because of the British and Indian activity connected to the War of 1812. By 1820, the land was surveyed and Milton Whitney became the owner of a large parcel. Whitney arranged for the Waite brothers of Russia Township to become the first permanent settlers in the spring of 1821. By 1831, there were enough residents to request that the county incorporate a township independent of Wellington. Pittsfield was chosen as the township's name to honor the Massachusetts hometown of many of the area's pioneers. LaGrange Township's first settler was Nathan Clark, who in the fall of 1825 established his new homestead on the east branch of the Black River. By the summer of 1826, 14 more settlers had arrived. The name LaGrange, which is French for the farm, was chosen to honor French General Lafayette, as it was also the name of his country estate. In 1827, the area was separated from Carlisle Township and reorganized with elections in April into the new township of LaGrange. By 1875, the center had grown into a village, also incorporated as LaGrange. The pioneer settler of the Camden area was Leonard Clark. Over the next 4 years, other families moved into the area, including Roswell Babcocks, who built the first frame house in 1833. Early on, the area was divided between Henrietta and Brighton townships. In 1835, the new township of Camden was created by the county commissioners and the first elections held in April of 1836. When the first post office was established in 1835, the community was called Panelise. The name was changed to Camden, then later to North Camden. In 1852, the Lake Shore and Michigan Southern Railroad called its station Binghamton, but that was soon changed as the town adopted the name Kipton. Kipton's more important connection to the railroad was a tragic collision in 1891. The wreck was instrumental in the creation of standardized or railroad time. Rochester was the last township within the present-day boundaries of Lorain County to be settled. Stephen Babcock brought his family from Massachusetts in the spring of 1832 to settle on land he had prepared the previous year. The area grew quickly, and by 1835, the commissioners formed a new township with the first elections held in April of 1836. The township's farming and related businesses grew with the population. By 1880, close to 700 citizens lived in the area. The population shifted from Rochester Center to Rochester Station when the Big Four Railroad came through the township. The small-town boom would turn to bust when the railroad eliminated Rochester as a scheduled stop. The depot would be used as a schoolhouse, as the home of the Rochester Rod and Gun Club, and today as the home of the Rochester Historical Society.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel.
We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license.
We also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured or needs extreme medical care.
Pedestrian injuries represent the second largest number in motor-related deaths. In the current report by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, of the 812 traffic fatalities for children ages 5 to 9, almost 1/3, that's 254, were pedestrian fatalities. These numbers were just very staggering to me in this office. Most of these were from pedestrian crossings. Children not educated in crossing streets where there are sidewalks and obviously stoplights, or where there are no sidewalks and there are stop signs. So basically, it was based on the fact that they aren't getting proper education, or they hadn't any education on how to cross streets with sidewalks or without sidewalks. So that's what really got us motivated to look into this and do something about it.
County Engineer's Office is quite proud to announce that the Safe Routes to School program has been initiated throughout Lorain County. We're very excited about this. To help these children from grades K to 4, teaching them to walk the street safely is very important to us. We've seen statistics that quite frankly shock us. Many times we read and see stories of pedestrians being hit by automobiles in Lorain County, and it just tears my heart to see these children from K to 4 part of that. This program is to stop that, to help diminish those type of situations and educate these children on crossing the street safely. And we're quite happy to announce that.
Most of our workshop was developed and made in-house. Simulated sidewalks, simulated streets. We have actual working stoplights. We have the pedestrian crossing signs that actually work. We have operational railroad crossings. We also have the regular road signs like your pedestrian crossing, your stop sign, your railroad sign. So we have all of these different things that the children can not only visualize, but then we actually interact the children in those situations so they can not only see, but they can use these in their learning abilities on how to cross the streets with and without sidewalks. We've had so many good responses back from the children, and of course it's just like anything else with children. When you ask for volunteers, when you're talking in a group of 60 and you can only have 8, it's amazing at the hands that go up. You know, does anybody want to volunteer? Well, everybody wants to volunteer. We make them go over these skills that we're trying to teach them, not only the volunteers, but the group as a whole. So basically we have the whole class interacting. So if they say left, right, left, behind you, in front of you once, they say it at least 8 or 10 times before the workshop is over. So we've had many teachers and many principals tell us, and we even had one child that came up to us and said, you know what, Miss Spansky, we were going to cross the street the other day and we remembered, look left, look right, look left. So that was very rewarding. And so I think the repetition, the interaction with the children and with the items in our workshop is very important to them and to us. Before you even go into the safety part of it, they're in awe over the traffic light, and then our railroad crossing signals actually work. So they're just like, oh, ooh. And we get up there and we tell them, and we even give them some trick questions. You know, we'll say, well, we can see that train all the way down the track. Do you think we can make it, because you're fast and I'm fast and we can run? And of course they're very enthusiastic and no, we shouldn't do this. So we teach them that in some urban areas you will not have the gates that come down to keep you actually from crossing, that you may just have 2 sets of tracks, and just because one goes by and the signals stop doesn't mean that another one can't come from the other direction. So we tell them it's very, very imperative that they stay back from the tracks and they wait till those signals stop and to look both ways. And even once those signals stop, to look both ways, and they should never run across the railroad tracks. They should walk and continue to look both ways, because it's not safe and they could fall, they could injure themselves. If they're alone, if they're not with someone, it could be very dangerous, because not only could they injure themselves, they may not have help if there is a train coming. because they are so small. And as you know, some of those tracks are very large, and you're talking in kindergarten through 4th grade, some of those children are very small children. The main thing is that we tell them that only you know when it's safe. You have to make that ultimate decision. So make sure that you know that it's safe before you cross those railroad tracks or a street. One of the other things that we cover in the safety workshop, and it's also repeated in our video, children don't have that perception of the miles per hour. It's very dangerous. And the same thing with trains. We tell them that train could take, forever. It's way down there, but we don't know the actual miles per hour. We decided to use 2 different videos. The first one is geared for kindergarten and 1st grade, and that is Otto the Otto, put out by AAA.
Hi kids! A lot of times you have to walk to get to places. And when you're walking, you have to be especially careful of cars and bicycles. Oh no! Those kids are walking the wrong way! That's dangerous! I'm going to talk with these kids. Down at the clubhouse, they're talking about the safe way to walk on streets without sidewalks.
I say you can walk across the street anywhere you want, as long as you look first. And don't get squished flat by a car. That's a fairly simple way of looking at safety. There are actual rules and laws for walking. Yeah, but the most important one is you don't get squished flat. Who's right, Maggie? Patrick or us?
I guess in a sense, everyone's right. The main idea is to get there safely, but there are some rules to help you get there safely, like don't run out into the street without looking.
The second video, we show 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, and it is put together by the National Safety Council along with Honda, and they developed the first humanoid robot.
This is Michael. Michael, this is Osimo.
How come you're dressed in a robot suit? It's not a suit. I'm a real robot. My name, Osimo, stands for Advanced Step in Innovative Mobility. I'm the world's most advanced humanoid robot. I can walk forwards, backwards, and even climb stairs just like a human. So, what's the first rule about crossing the street?
Stopping at curbs.
Correct. First, always stop at the curb. Then make sure no cars are coming. You want to look left.
It's clear.
Then right to see if any cars are coming from the other direction.
That's clear too.
Cars move fast. There might already be a new car to the left. So look left again.
Car coming.
See what I mean?
Okay, he's gone.
Kids love this. They relate to Osimo as well as the younger children relate to Otto, who is an animated automobile. And he tells them about crossing streets. Osimo does the same thing, and he actually goes through with the children and tells them how to cross the street at an intersection with a traffic light, with a pedestrian crossing. He also teaches them how to cross because a lot of children at schools have parked cars. He goes over the issues of how to cross when there are parked cars. So he does a number of different things, how to cross the street when there are no sidewalks. So they both cover the basic skills. One is just geared a little bit more for the different age groups. Our response has been amazing. Not only from the children, we have received numerous cards. I have a whole box of thank yous from children from the schools where we have that have participated in our workshop. We've had nothing but a positive response back throughout the communities that we visited this year.
I think it was really nice because they had a real life robot talk to you about safety, and you got to actually do what he said was safe. He said when there are parked cars to make sure there are no drivers in before you cross the street.
I saw that we could know what to do when there's like cars coming, not to go in the middle of the road so you don't get hurt. You have to look left, right, left, behind the shoulder, and then straight. If they don't know how to stop at sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to. If they don't know how to cross without sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to do that too, because that's what we learned. I think that it was good because I didn't know that you had to look 5 ways, which were left, right, left, and then over your shoulder, and then ahead of you. I thought that crossing the road was really good for little kids if they don't know what to do by crossing the road.
It's a good idea because, like I said, the kids could walk through the whole process of crossing streets with the crosswalk, without a crosswalk, at the intersection. What happens if you're crossing in between 2 parked cars? Those are things that parents don't teach their kids. They go to Safety Town and they learn left, look right, look left again, and they go. And even my own son, who's a kindergartner, he just did Safety Town, and I still catch him flying across the street. And all I have to do is say, Matthew, remember Asimo? And he stops and he thinks and he does all the steps that he was taught in the video.
It was a great refresher, especially for them, now knowing, what to do and kind of even additional things that they may not have been told or considered before.
Most of the kids did their little safety program back when they were getting ready to go to kindergarten. They start out learning all those safety rules. Then as time goes on, if you don't reinforce those safety rules and keep telling them, just like we do as adults, we think we're safe. We don't have to follow those rules anymore. We can do what we want. We can take a chance and run across the road. And I think this program was very good at reinforcing the fact that even though we're growing up, we still have to be careful. We still have to follow the signs. We still have to